Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing today? You all are a good-looking group, I can tell you. So I teach in South Florida a lot, and the group does not look nearly as beautiful and handsome as you guys, right? So give yourselves a round of applause right there. Yes. All right. So before, I'm just saying they must have all moved here. All the beautiful ones moved here, and except for my wife. Everyone, I would be remiss. That's my wife, Joanna. Could everyone just wave at my wife right there real quick? And the only reason she's here is to make sure that I get up, that I get dressed, that I eat, that I get back, all of that, okay? Before I get started, I would be remiss if I did not take an opportunity. Do we have any military veterans in the room? Any military vets? Okay, raise your hands high, and I need everyone besides the people with their hands raised to please stand up with me. Please just indulge me here. If you're not a military vet, if you would please stand to your feet. And could we give these vets a round of applause, please? Thank you all so much. You may be seated. I do believe, well, thank you from me to you. From me to each of you, thank you very much. It's because of your bravery that we get to do what I think is the third greatest industry in the world. And I'll tell you what those other two are in a moment. But do we have any family members of either active service personnel or vets in the room? Any family members of active service or vets in the room? All right, if you all would please stand up. If you all would please stand up. Like, I have to stand up twice? Yes, you do. All right. Okay, and can we give them a round of applause, please? All right, you all may be seated, and here's why I do it differently, okay? Because I believe, and what I've come to understand is that not everything in life deserves equal weight, right? I do want to acknowledge the contribution and the sacrifice because my dad was in the Navy. So I understand that when one member of the family serves, the entire family serves. Okay. Now, you all heard me say that I believe that real estate is the third greatest industry in the world. The first one I believe is defending our country and our freedoms by far. So all of our servicemen, our servicewomen, service personnel, make sure you show appreciation to them. The second one are our educators, the people who are leading and bending the minds of our youth as they're growing up. I think that's the second greatest thing you can do in this world is to position and lead and grow. And then third, I believe, is this industry right here, real estate. Okay, because underneath all is okay, so some like, right? So underneath all is the land. So it's very important what we do. Now, can everyone understand what I'm saying? Can everyone understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Right? Everyone understand me? Am I speaking too fast or too slow for anyone? Can you all? And the reason I ask, I've been fortunate and blessed to speak all across the country, and I'm originally from Alabama, if you all can't tell. Right? And it's a third world country just north of here, right? And what I've learned is that communication is only effective when the receiver or listener receives the message the way that the sender intended it, okay? So it doesn't matter how much I deliver. If it's not received by you all, it was pointless. I could have just stayed home, all right? Now, we're going to find out who's in the room right now because this photo is indicative of this room right here. Some of us are going to be like the young lady. Oh, I forgot to tell you. This is an interactive session. So I'm standing at the front, but that means nothing. All of you, by walking in, giving your Century card, or signing in, you all have voluntarily decided to be a co-facilitator. All right. Now, some of you are excited, right? Some of you are like, oh, yeah, we know who you are. You all are the ones who are excited. You're wiggling right now. And you're like, OK, get ready. Some of you, when I said, would everyone please stand up, you were like our friend right here. Like, when he said everyone, was he talking about me too? Because I'm not a vet, but is he talking about me? So you're going to move according to what the person next to you does. Okay? And then we have our friend right here who is just stoked and super excited. He has no idea what he's excited about, but he just likes people, right? And then, unfortunately, some of you are going to be like my friend right here, who have learned to sleep in the prone position, okay? That's okay as long as you don't snore. We're not in the business of embarrassing ourselves or embarrassing you, but as Anna said, don't worry, Ashley said, people will tell on you. That's the great thing about this industry, right? Be like, hey, yeah, how are you doing? You look lovely. I'm telling Freck, you know what, you did this, okay? So we are going to have some fun. But I always want to find out who we have in the room. Do we have anyone in the room who's been in the industry less than a year? Anyone less than a year? Okay, raise your hands high now. This is the interactive part. Okay, less than a year. How long?
Last November.
Okay. So our congratulations and condolences to you ladies, okay? For the people who are laughing at you, I want you to remember their face, so when you come to them, you'll be like, I know why you were laughing now. All right, who's been in the industry more than a year, less than 5? Okay, more than 5, less than 10? All right, and then more than 10 years. More than 10 years. All right, now all of you who have been in the industry more than 10 years, expect me to lean on you heavily. Okay, you're like, oh my gosh, wait, did I say 10? It's sort of like when she said, how many of you only got 2 wrong? And she was like, so you flip it. Oh, 10 years? I 10 months. So she said that she had gotten only 2 wrong, but then she was like, well, no, I got 2 right. Right? The good news is about that little exam. You'll see here in this course objectives in the timeline, it says test your luxury IQ. I stopped doing that because I have an 11-year-old son, and what I realized I was doing to my class attendees was that I was setting them up to fail a test that I couldn't pass if I hadn't written the test. Right? So there are times when you want to do I guess, assessment for people to see where they are. But then there's also a time to do an assessment just to make people feel bad. And as you can see, I have no ego at all. That's why I have my face and my logo on everything. And I had to question my motives about what I'm doing if I was trying to help you all or my students understand what they didn't know, or if I was trying to use it as a position to be superior. You all understand where I'm coming from there. And that's the first lesson, that when we're working with the affluent, it's very important that we know and that we have clear intentions about what we're doing and why we're doing it. All right. And it's not only our intentions, but also remember I talked about clear communication. It's important that the client or the customer or the prospect on the other end clearly understands what our intentions are. Okay? Everyone okay with that idea so far? Now, we are going to take 2 breaks, I believe. We're going to, and now that is going to be dependent upon you all. We're going to take the first break at 2 o'clock, okay? The next one we're going to take at about 3:10. Is everyone okay with that? This is a CE, so if you got to take a call, run out, jump back in. I believe we're going to have a good time. Can everyone read English? No, it seems like a funny question. I'm from South Florida. I'm from Miami, right? And the reason I ask that, once again, if someone says, no, I cannot read English, and I don't ask that, whose fault is that they didn't receive the information? That's on me, right? And it's always in a couple of lessons before we really even get started. It's always on us to make sure that we're presenting ourselves and our information in a way that works for the recipient, for the way that works for our clients, customers, or prospects. Now, in my business, I only work with clients. So when I say clients, would you all give me permission to say clients and understand that that also means customers and prospects? We're okay with that? All right. And does everyone understand the difference between client, customer, prospect? If you don't, I'm begging you to go in, research, ask someone at the association, ask some of your colleagues, or get online and Google. It's very important that we know so we keep ourselves out of trouble. All right? Now, that's the only tip I'm going to give you guys. Everything else is for you guys to lose and for me to win. All right? And you're like, why? What is he talking about? And the reason I say that is I'm going to tell you all how to lose at being a luxury agent. How to lose. Now, you're like, what? Now, that's not true, but now I have your attention, right? So for those of you who are like, why am I here? Right? No, so I'm setting you all up to really win at everything you do. And the reason I asked if everyone can read English, do I have permission to skip this course objective page? Right? So everyone can read that. That's why I want to make sure that that everyone here can read English, because I want to skip this. This is usually where I have to go through and I'm going to say, okay, we're going to define the luxury market, blah, 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 blah. But if everyone can read, I want to make sure that you have that there, as well as with that timeline, because that timeline varies. It's going to be really determinant upon you and the interaction that we have. Is everyone okay with that idea? All right, so when I keep asking, is this okay with you? I'm just asking for your permission to treat you really, really bad. All right? And the same thing, everything that I'm doing now are the same techniques and skills that we're going to apply when working with the affluent. We're going to ask them for permission to do what we're going to do anyway. All right? Are you guys with me there? That reminds me, I'm from Alabama. When I say guys, I'm talking to ladies and gentlemen. Are we okay there? Because ladies, if you are not okay with me saying guys, the guys will just have to deal with it, and I'll just say ladies all day. All right? Because I've learned, you see, yes. And that's not just because my wife is here. Even when she's not here, I will have a room full of gentlemen and one lady. If she's very opposed to it, I'll say, so ladies. And I realize the guys that we're just like, all right, dude, it's whatever. Just get on with it. But the reason I do that is also being cautious and conscious of the environment that we're in. Okay? And so with that is everything that we do in the luxury realm, everything that you're going to do when working with the affluent or high net worth individuals is going to be critiqued, not always by the client, but many times by the competition or your colleagues looking for you to slip up. Okay? So I know we're friends in here. I know we're colleagues in here. But let me tell you, this is a Shark Tank. All right? And the rules are, you can be the biggest, baddest shark in the tank, but there are rules, like playing in the sandbox. You can't bite anyone, right? You still have to be ethical, moral. I love it. I don't know how many of you love the idea of what we have here, but if you get really, really skilled, and I'm going to give everyone in here the same tools, the same tricks, the same tips, and maybe, hopefully I'm wrong today, maybe 3 people are going to really take something away and start implementing it, all right? What this is not a magic pill, all right? This is not going to help you be super successful just because you came and you took the class and you're going to say, hey, I heard Neil, now I'm ready to work with the affluent. A couple of things. Do I have your permission to jump around as things pop in my head and go? So it might not always be here. As important as what's on the paper, what's more important is what you all are going to get from each other. All right, and for me, this is also interactive, as I've stated. There is no question and answer session at the end. Everyone raise your hand. Yeah, this is the part where everyone raise your hand and put your hand down. I'm not gonna make you swear it. So that's the way you stop me if you have a question. All right, if you want to chime in. Now don't worry, some of you are like, Neil, why did you give him or her permission to chime in? She's gonna talk all day. It's okay, I'm not going to be here after 6 o'clock today. I'll just say, could you stop talking? We're gonna move on. All right, I'm okay with that. I'm okay being the bad guy. So don't worry about that. But it is interactive. If you all have a question, if you have an experience, I'm gonna ask that you keep it brief, but if it's something that's poignant, make sure you share, all right? Especially for those who have been in the industry more than 10 years. So this is not a red or blue pill scenario where you're just going to come in, you're going to get something one time. I have been a student of this. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've been a student of success and luxury markets for about 20 years. Okay, so I started very, very early understanding and diving into the mindsets and the methodologies of the affluent. Right? And so this comes from me being with my dad and being around his friends and his circle and knowing where I wanted to go. And so that's how we ended up getting into the luxury market. But this is my hometown. This is Florala, Alabama. My wife and I, we were just there for a family reunion last weekend. This past weekend, we got back on Sunday. So we were up there from Friday to Sunday. It still looks exactly the same. This is not a throwback Thursday photo. All right, this is so this was taken in 2017. The only difference is this buffet restaurant is no longer there. Now it's a gas station. And this red light right here is no longer there. So we went from 4 red lights to 3 now. All right, we have 1,170 people still in our city, in my hometown. Well, 1,169 because we left and I never went back. Okay, but the reason I show this is because I've been blessed to have an opportunity now to work with some of the most affluent, high net worth individuals in South Florida and across the country because of what I'm going to show you all today. So this is not coming from someone who's only read, who's, sat back and watched TV, watched $1 Million Listing or Bravo, right? I'm in the trenches every day working with clients from, business owners, from international clients, from athletes, celebrities, movie stars. They're all in my sphere. But then also we have just the people who inherited wealth, or what we call old money. And we'll talk about all that and talk about how we can get in. Before we do that, do we have anyone that's currently working in now, I also want to say there are also terminology that we'll use. High net worth, ultra high net worth, affluent. What we don't use is rich, okay? Is everyone okay with that? We don't say rich people, all right? Now, if you're one of them, you can say whatever you want. It's one of those cultural things, but like, oh, he's rich, right? Or she's rich. But us on the outside, as service people, we will always refer to them as affluent or usually high net worth individuals. We don't say rich, and we very seldom do we ever say wealthy, okay? Everyone understand that. Who in here is currently working in the luxury niche or the luxury realm right now? I'm not going to ask you for any money. I'm just, well, Scott, maybe. I might ask you for some money, sir. Yes, because he gave me a hard time. So, see, look, see, David, he said you can ask what you want. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. Okay.
I used to work with them. I retired, I came back, and I wanted to do it again. I lived with them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of the things that we're going to dive into is that no matter where you are, everyone has the ability to gain the skills, as evidenced by this right here, okay, to work with the affluent clientele. What is luxury? Now, this is not you looking at your paper. This is your ideas. What is luxury in your mind, in your eyes, in your world? What is luxury? Interactive session. Go.
Being mentally and physically on the beach at the same time.
Mentally and physically on the beach at the same time. Okay. You did say beach, correct? Okay.
You want to go to the beach, but if you're not mentally present on the beach having a good time and you're working,
What's your name, ma'am? Melinda, I like the way you think. My wife likes the way you think. I know already. Okay, what else? What's your idea of luxury? What is luxury to you all?
High-end.
High-end.
Being a normal person, treating people as if you are a normal person, not thinking you're better than somebody else.
Humility.
The true rich people treat you very nice. It's the ones, some of them that have acquired it and think they're better than you.
Okay, we'll talk about some of that. Now on that note, so here's what, because I'm going to interject. So we are going to make some comments. We're going to make some generalizations, but we're not making stereotypes. Everyone understand the difference. So a lot of my information and then the things that I'm going to share, maybe some things that you've seen or you've learned, it may be a generalization when we start talking about high net worth versus ultra high net worth. You know, it might be a generalization, but we want to be careful not to be stereotypical, all right? Because for instance, everyone, when she was speaking, they probably thought of one person who had just come into money that was the sweetest person in the world, right? So that's why we have to be careful. And then we have to take everything with a filter, all right? And understand that no one's going to be offended. Well, hopefully no one's going to offend anyone here. I'll do all the offending, okay? And then you guys can kick me out at 4, all right? What else? What is luxury? What is luxury?
Flying in your airplane to have your hair done in Miami.
Flying in an airplane to have your hair done in Miami. I heard something over here. Brand.
good quality.
Quality. Indulgence. What if I told you that all of those were the correct answer? Because what we'll learn is that luxury changes from one geographic location to the next and from person to person. Luxury can change from generation to generation, right? For instance, how many of you were born outside of the U.S.? How many of you were born outside of the U.S.? Okay, now, if you're born outside of the U.S., your idea of what's luxurious is probably different. Or when you came here, your idea of luxurious was probably different from someone who was born here in the U.S. Would you all agree? All right, and what I want you to do right here, I'm going to read this definition and then I'm going to ask a question. Luxury, free or habitual indulgence in or enjoyment of comforts and pleasures in addition to those necessary for a reasonable standard of well-being, a pleasure out of the ordinary allowed to oneself. Everyone got that? It's on your paper. Okay, so now how many of you have luxuries in your life right now? There's a thing called the internet, cell phones, chocolate, first world, right? Yeah, so my wife, chocolate is a luxury, right? Well, she thinks it's a necessity. Okay, affluent is going to be another word that we use a lot of. Having an abundance of wealth, property, or other material goods, prosperous and rich. Everyone got those two definitions that we're going to be using. All right, for this course, for today, Do we have anyone in here that has heard of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing? Anyone heard of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing? Do we have any members or designees of the Institute? Okay, so great stuff. Now, I believe in the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing, not for the designation for the CLHMS, Certified Luxury Home Marketing. I believe in the Institute for the, I guess, the experience, the relationships that you build, but more so for the training that you get. All right, so you'll hear me talk about a lot of designations. I don't believe in getting a designation just to have a designation behind your name. All right, what I believe in getting information to learn and meet people so that you can get better. And a lot of the information that, and the resources I'm going to share with you today, you can get online for free. So it's not necessary for you to go and pay $400, $500 to be a part of this master class, because now everything is a master class. Have you all heard that? Class, get my certification. The best endorsement that you can have is from one of your past clients, hands down. Okay, we're good there. All right. For this course, we're going to use a definition adopted by the Institute of Luxury Home Marketing. Listen very closely to this. Luxury is the top 10% of residential home sales based on the last 12 months. The top 10% of residential sales based on sales in the last 12 months. So does that mean that the floor for the luxury market changes? Absolutely. Whatever the sales are, the top 10%. But there's another part of it. The floor of the luxury market will never fall below what? 500,000, even if it's within the top 10%. So my hometown, just from looking at this photo, do you guys think that we have a luxury market? No, we get acres. We get 30, 40, 50 acres for 100,000. Okay? So there is no luxury market there. Even the top sale there is not a luxury sale based on the definition for the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. Now, you're going to say, well, let me ask you this. Do you care, or does your bank account care whether you sell something at 500,000 or 495,000? For us and our coconuts, we won't talk about commission, we'll use coconuts instead, okay? Since I'm from Miami, we'll say 3 coconuts, 2.5 coconuts, whatever there. So based off numbers and our accounts and what we do in our business, whether it's 500,000 or 499 or 495 is not a big deal, but there has to be a cutoff somewhere. So we're going to use 500,000 as the floor, but then the top 10%. Everyone got that? All right. It is important to understand that not all areas have luxury markets, and luxury can be as much mental as it is physical. I know that we're in a room full of professionals. So you all probably have never been to a club or to a nightclub, right? You don't do that here. Like no nightclub, no club, and no partying. But in here it says, what does it mean to go beyond the velvet rope? Does everyone understand the idea of the general admission line? So there's a general admin line. Let me say this. Maybe if we'll use RPAC. That's a great one, since we're in here with realtors. When you go to convention next month, there's a general line, and then RPAC usually gets preferred seating. We'll use that, right? So the idea is the same when it comes to our going beyond the velvet rope, working with the affluent. Do you all know how many realtors we have in the state of Florida right now? How many realtors do we have? I'm sorry?
100,000, somewhere there, right?
You said somewhere between 100. So, okay, so we're right around 180,000, right? 180,000 realtors, that's not counting licensees, all right? That's the general admission line. Everyone understand that? Working with the affluent and in the luxury niche, that is the VIP line. That's when you got to dress up a little bit and you've got to move, have the velvet rope. So that's what it means to go beyond the velvet rope and to get into that niche. Now, when Anna was talking about, the luxury brands and everything that you were doing for the exam, when we think luxury, and here's what I want permission to challenge you all a little bit. When we think luxury, this is not what I want you all thinking. Okay? If someone says affluent, the first thing that pops in your head, I do not want you thinking lavish. Okay? That's what we're seeing for the majority, and we're going to talk about the numbers as a whole across the world, across the country, and then just right here. So the majority of wealth does not look like this. Do you all, not, I'm not going to ask you to agree, but are you all open to understanding that? Okay. What we see is flash. We don't usually see wealth. What we see are the new money, usually between when they've gotten access to the income between 1 and 5 years. That's what we're calling new money. So when you hear the new money term, we're usually talking about someone who has come into wealth from 1 to 5 years. That's what we're calling new money. Old money is if they've had the resources for 15 years plus. So 1 to 5 years, what we'll see is that those are the ones who are quick to spend. They are usually cash rich. Old money, 15 years plus, is usually very cash poor. You all understand that? And the reason being, they've built their wealth, and now their wealth may not be as liquid as someone who has new money. Okay? From stocks, investments, real estate is a huge part of it, and estate planning. In the middle, if we really want to be successful, we want to get them in that middle. We want to get where they're not flashing and wasting money, but before they become so conservative that they're saying, nah, I'm just going to hold on to it and pass it down. We want them, after they've gotten comfortable with their wealth, they've already had their one car, their dream car that they wanted, drove it a few times, and then sent it to auction. Okay? We want them, when they're driving that regular driver, the everyday driver, and they're understanding now that I want to use money to make more money, which is really to buy more time. Okay? So that's where we want to go. This, how many of you would consider this luxury? It is luxurious, but this is not what I want you, once again, this is not what I want you thinking when we're talking about who we're going to work with. Because I can almost guarantee, especially here in Vero, I'm telling you that a lot of the people, while we see this, there's a lot more people that have, we're going to say they're in the ultra high net worth range, 30 plus million, because I did some research before I came here, I mean, I would be a fool not to, right? I had to make sure that I was looking for my target market as well, right? So there are a lot of people who are in the 30 million plus as far as their investable assets who never travel like this, okay? And we need to make sure that we're cautious and conscious of that. All right, so what are some of the benefits of working with the affluent? What's the first one? What's the first benefit of working with the affluent? We make more money, hands down. If that was not your answer, if that's not the first thing that came into your head, check yourself into some type of institute today. Really, because I'm telling you, as philanthropic as I feel and as much as I love the industry and I love people, how many of you would agree that it's hard to sell real estate? Real estate can be challenging, right? How many of you think it's almost impossible to sell to people who don't have money? My man Scott, hey, it's almost impossible to sell to people who don't have money. So if I can decide if I'm going to spend my 50 plus hours trying to itch and scratch and put something together here, or put more time and effort and energy over here where they have the means and now we just have to work with, I'm always going to choose that. Okay, so more income. What's another benefit of working with the affluent? Interactive portion, go ahead. Referrals. Well, I'm not going to ask because I would be setting you up for failure by saying you're wrong and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. We've been taught to ask for referrals, right? Correct? Who do you know that needs to buy or sell? In the luxury niche, we never, ever, 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 ever ask for referrals. What do? We earn referrals. There is a very big difference in asking for a referral and earning a referral. Would you all agree? You could ask for a referral when? As soon as you finish that first phone call. You could ask for a referral as soon as you write the contract or you get the listing. Who do you know? But have you earned the right to get into their circle? If you move from asking to earning, if you make that small shift in the way you think, I promise every bit of your business is going to raise to a higher level. When you ask yourself, have I earned the right to work with their friend? Have I earned the right for them to put their reputation in my hand? Everything that we do is based upon earning a referral, earning the right to get into their circle and to get into their lives. So the way I look at it is and even despite, now I'm going to say this, you're gonna be like, well, dang, how old would the mom be? So even though I know that the median age for affluent individuals is about 62, up here it's about 66, okay? It's 62. My goal is to always do such a great job that I could earn their mom's referral. If I take everything I do, if every decision I make, if the way I dress, the way I speak, the way I carry myself, the consultations, whether it's the marketing consultation or buyer consultation, if I execute that at a level where I'm trying to earn the referral and get their mom's phone number or their mom's email address, right? Or fax number, whichever one she's using, right? If I can do that, I'm doing a great job. And it's all about service. All right, what are some of the other benefits besides income and referral? Now you all can look at the paper if you like. It's on there. Less competitors. But what's the problem with the competitors that we have? They are good. Usually, so the good news is there's fewer to compete with. The bad news is the ones that are in it and who have sustained, they're really, really good. You've got to be sharp. If you're like me, you enjoy the competition. You want to rise to a higher level. If you're in it for a quick buck, if you got your license yesterday, you want to do a deal today and have a TV show tomorrow, it's not going to happen, right? So what I want us to look at, while there's less competitors, we have to make sure that we understand that the competitors are going to be more skilled. We're going to say skilled. Okay, they're going to be more skilled. All right, what else? Well, I'll just run down. Okay, personal pride. Sometimes it's a really good feeling. I don't know if you all have experienced the feeling of just being proud of yourself. I don't think there's anything, no amount of money, there's nothing that can equate the feeling of, you know what, dang, I did a great job. I feel good. And a lot of that can come from it. And then the last one that's on that second says, if you're successful working with the affluent, you are likely to be respected greatly by your peers. That's a good thing, right? Sorta. Okay, so here in Florida, respect looks like this word called hate. Okay, right? So think about this. The people, we're not going to say hate or jealous, maybe envious. Okay, so think about someone who might be at the top. Ask yourself, do you want to, are you willing to do what it takes to get up there? And then are you okay enduring what maybe you're dishing out right now? That's why I want us to be careful what we say about people, because the energy that we say, and I'm just going to park here for a moment. What we say about affluent agents who are successful, if we want to be successful, guess who we're talking about in the future? You all see where the challenge is. And then there's, I don't know if you all believe in the law of attraction or the universe or whatever, but it can't work, right? You're going to have inner turmoil if you say, oh, well, yeah, he's a good agent, but he's probably a crook. He probably cheats to get all of those clients. But then you're striving to be there. What can you really expect when you get there? Not even that people will be saying the same thing about you. I experienced it early on where I was like, am I what I was saying about everyone else? And then I had to pull back and shift the way I think. All right, what are some of the challenges of working with the affluent? What are some of the challenges? I'm sorry?
Listing, it takes you longer usually to sell them.
Okay, so when you're in the luxury niche, when you're dealing with higher price points, time to sell, which means what? So she said time to sell, how long it takes. What are we really talking about there? Why do we care that it takes longer to sell? Time to get paid, but not even time to get paid, because before we make money, what do we have to do? We have to spend money, higher marketing costs, higher marketing expenses. That's a very real deal. Everyone wants that first $1 million listing until they get that first $1 million listing and the seller says, where's my brochure? Where's my drone? Where's my helicopter? Where's my movie? Right? And then you're sitting here, you're like, ooh, I did not plan all of that. So absolutely right. The marketing expenses are higher. Time to sell are higher. What are some of the other challenges of working with the affluent? More complex. Yes, sir.
I think it's a personal thing, depending upon the person. But you may feel you have to sacrifice some of your integrity.
Okay, so what your name, sir? Charlie? So what Charlie said was, There may be an internal struggle where you might have to jeopardize some, or you might have to sacrifice some of your integrity, and maybe to get the deal done. Now, or maybe to please. Now, I can't tell you what to do. What I can tell you is to set a barometer, set a standard, and whatever your standard is, do not deviate from that standard ever. All right? Because what we know, birds of a feather do what? The worst thing that I can do is to treat her one way and then come over here and treat her a different way. Right? Because guess what's going to happen when they cross paths? They're going to be talking about their agent. And they're going to say, oh, well, this. And it always happens. In my market, we have 50,000 plus agents in my main association, 50,000 in Miami, not counting the other 40-something thousand in our neighboring association and the other 19,000 right around the corner. So we've got 70,000 agents in 3 counties. But what we're finding is the really good ones, when we're out, we're hearing the same names come up over and over. And that's whether it's with colleagues or with clients, customers, and prospects. And when there was one did something over here and then came and did something over here, we heard about it and it was not good and that agent was out of the business. Because it takes one mistake. All right? So that's why, as Charlie said, you might feel like you have to sacrifice. I'm going to tell you, set a standard and then execute on that standard every time and don't deviate, okay? Now, one of the biggest challenges is self-doubt. Agents just don't believe that, hey, I don't make $100,000 a year. I don't live in this. I don't drive this. Why should I work with, or why would they work with me, right? The question is, it's not your job to compete with our clients. It's not our job to compete with the high net worth individuals or with the affluent. It's our job to, this is always a scary word when I say it, serve them. You all understand the difference? Many agents, I don't know if you guys understand it, but agents have egos, right? We want to put our photos on everything. Yes, I'm okay. All right, we want to put our photos on everything. We want to make sure it's all about us, us, us. Will that work with our affluent clientele? Probably not. And I'm going to challenge you right now with this idea. No matter how well off you are, someone's better. No matter how smart we are, someone's better. No matter how much money we have, our clients probably have more or have access to more. All right, so we want to make sure that we're serving, that we're not competing. Another challenge is affluent clientele can be very demanding. Who believes that? Who believes that a $200,000 buyer can be very demanding? What they say, hamburger budget with a steak, right? Yeah, right? Same thing. So be very cautious and careful about that. So the reality check that I put here in red, that we're to serve our clientele, that we are not to compete with them. Now, something the young lady, your name, ma'am? Tara. Tara said that more complex transactions. So keep in mind right here, when we're talking about more complex transactions, we're talking about, one, just the number of people who may be involved in the transaction itself. All right, so usually you will not be dealing only with the end decision maker. We've been taught when we got in, make sure you find out who the decision maker is and have them sit in front of you and close the decision maker. I've done many transactions where I never ever physically met the end decision maker. Okay, so we're talking about when we talk about a complex transaction with people involved, who are some of the people that might be involved in this transaction? Attorney. Wait, so do we have any attorneys in the room right now? Because apparently you all hate attorneys. Attorneys, right? So attorneys are one. Who else? Account assistants. Who else? Financial advisor. Who else? Mom and dad. Who else? Personal representative. I am surprised that no one said spouse.
Why wouldn't the spouse be a decision maker?
No. Because because a lot of times, so I'm going to talk to it a little later, but I do have your permission to jump around, right? So what we have at my son's school, there are these people called the yoga moms. You all know the yoga moms, right? They drop their kids off at school in yoga clothes. They hang out there. They never go to yoga, right? But then they are there to pick their kids up, right? Everyone okay with that? You familiar with those? I had to check myself. So you all are just listening to me speak to myself. Neil, look at her. She doesn't even do yoga. She's here all day and blah, blah, blah. But then I started thinking, so she's here all day. She drops off the kid. She might do accelerated reading with the kid, or she might leave and the girls might go hang out. But I see the car she's driving. She doesn't work. Someone has to be providing the lifestyle. So I went from being judgmental to being very inquisitive. Oh, hey, how are you doing? Right? So much so to the point where I became my son's or my class's accelerated reading dad, right? So I became the classroom dad because I wanted to be at school as much as possible in the environment around the. And the reason I say they were making the decisions is because while their partner was off making the money, all the decisions about the finances, the houses, the school zones, the entertainment, the recreation. So my wife and I, we would be invited to birthday parties that we had no business being invited to, right? You know how when you walk in and you're like, man, this is a 7-year-old's birthday party? Gosh, that's what we're getting invited to because I started recognizing who the decision makers were, the decision makers were. All right, and so that's just a little small thing. So start shifting. If you see something or you see someone, just peel the onion back one more layer. And the reason I say that they're not always the decision maker, or why I don't consider them the decision maker, because in our lives, just in the U.S., and with the affluent, we'll see especially about, I think it's 87% or 91% of the, 91% of the affluent are Caucasian, okay? 82% of the affluent are Caucasian male. Okay, so now we're just talking about in the U.S. as far as the people who are making the money. All right, are you all with me there? So that's what we're considering in our industry. We're considering them the decision makers as far as with the wealth and with the money, but the ones who are actually making the decisions. Where do I buy? You'll see this a lot since I deal with athletes a lot. The athlete makes the money. I never deal with them. I get to know their wives. I get to know their agents. I get to know all of them because they're the ones when I finally speak to on the phone. Where do you want to go? Whatever they say. And it's a conglomerate that comes and they say, okay, well, here's what we think, right? And they make the decision. And usually it's that spouse, significant other, or partner. All right, so always think about that. So when we talk about how detailed or how complex the transaction is going to be, just keep that in mind. All right, everyone okay with that idea? All right, how many of you would swim with sharks? How many of you would swim with sharks? You guys are in the real estate industry, so whether you know it or not, you're swimming with sharks right now. All right, you're like, oh my gosh, right? So whether you know it or not, if you go to the beach or swim with sharks, they say that you're never more than like 75 yards away from a shark at any time, something like that, right? He's like, yep. See, when I found that out, I stopped going to the beach, okay? Right, because sharks like dark meat. All right, do you have what it takes to make it in the luxury niche? All right, we're good. We got 8 minutes. Everyone good so far? And now, so here's the way it works. So this is just a warm up. When we come back from the break, we're going to really move because my goal is for us to have the information and action plan. So when you leave here, you know what to do. Step 1 through a million. All right. The first thing I want you to understand, do you have what it takes to make it in the luxury niche? The luxury niche is not for everyone, and that's okay. All right. The luxury niche is not for everyone. That's okay. I have agents in my office who have access to multi-million-dollar leads who will not take them, she's much more comfortable working with first-time buyers who need down payment assistance. Wow. That's where she wants to turn. But let me tell you, she's turning out 8, 9, 10 a month. And then remember how we talked about the time frame that it takes for a transaction to close? So she's closing 10 in what she's probably closing about 15 in what it would take 1 to close as far as on the high end. So the luxury market is not for everyone. The information that we're going to go over today is useful to everyone. I don't care which niche or which price band you're in, all right? So you have to have a belief in your ability to be the best at what you specialize in. When a high net worth individual, when you are wealthy, you can choose the best of the best. So what do you want to choose? The best of the best. What we want a lot of times is we want to work with the best, but we're subpar. We're family. I forgot. Are we family in here? Can I talk to you all like that? Okay. We want to work with a $1 million seller, and we have the skills of someone who shouldn't even be doing rentals. Right? If you don't know your market, if you don't know what the median sales price is, the days on market, months of inventory, it's kind of tough for you to justify your value to someone who is used to working with excellence. All right? Everyone okay with that idea? So the first thing that we have to do, and this is a really big challenge, you have to make sure that your skills are up to par. Because if your skills aren't up to opportunity, you're probably going to crash and burn. And when you crash and burn with a lot of money on the line, emotionally, it eats you up and it kills you. Okay, so that's why I want to make sure that we have the skills when we leave here so that we're prepared.
But when you be done in that market though, because I kind of know a lot of people in that market for a totally different reason. And when you burn that bridge,
Not all the time. Not all the time, because my thing is, look at how many people have just done horrible stuff in this world and we've given them a second chance, right? So all it really, so think about this, getting in, it only takes one chance, right?
I have a hard time getting into real estate. I was in,
Okay.
with something different.
So,
But one of the people in Windsor, which is high in here, that came like 20 years ago, and it stuck with me. And she said, I'm going to tell you, when you are a service person, and we have hard heart, that's who we talk about. And we all go home with what everybody says about everybody that's working for them. And if someone says anything bad, you're pretty much done.
So my thing on that is, I don't think you're ever done. I think there's always a second chance for people. It's just that it might be harder for you to get up. And then so there's a lot of things that you want to look for. So you might want to look for a trade that if you have messed up, or if you just haven't, you had a shot and you've fallen off, you just need one break. And so that might become your marketing strategy. You might just want to come and say, hey, you know what, I want to take your listing. I'm not going to take another $1 million listing until I sell yours. Now, the truth is, you might not even have an opportunity to take another one until you sell that one, right? But it's not in what they hear, it's what we say and how we say it, correct? So you want to make sure that, I always believe that there's an opportunity, okay? So a higher level of communication and negotiation skills. How many public speakers do we have in the room? Every hand should go up. How many of you speak to people outside of your home? When you're outside of your house, what is that called? You're out in public. So we think of public speaking as one to many. There's no greater skill, even more so than negotiation. Your ability to communicate with affluent clientele is going to immediately decide whether they want to give you another chance or listen for another 8 seconds, or if they've already made their mind up about you. We've done it to people, right? How many times have we heard someone, you're like, ugh. Even if they have really good information, even if they're very knowledgeable, your ability to communicate, I weave it into everything I do, from talking to my kids in kindergarten at my church to talking to my 66-year-old clients, right? Communication is so important. I did it when I spoke to you all this morning or today when I started. Can everyone understand me? Can everyone read English? Making sure that the communication, because if the communication falls to the side, no matter how good the information is, you're going to say that was a waste of my time, right? And that's what we can't do, because we know that's their most valuable asset.
How about when they love your accent?
I haven't had anyone love my accent yet, so I don't have that problem. Okay, look and act successful. This may be different depending on your locale, but it should always include the following. Okay, well-groomed. Now, well-groomed. Now, I want to make sure that I clarify this for ladies and gentlemen. When they say well-groomed means that you've put some thought into how you're going to look when you leave the house, right? So people say, Neil, how is it that clean shaven? We know that times are changing right now, but then also for my clientele and who I work with, my international buyers that I'm working with, they appreciate a beard because a lot of them look like me, okay? And then also I'm getting 3 gray hairs now, so it means that I'm a little wiser than I was 2 weeks ago. All right. Pressed, clean clothes, firm handshake, eye contact. And the last one on the list is the most important, a genuine personality. A genuine personality. I put down there that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Okay, a genuine personality means that if I see you at Publix today, and if I see you at a networking event tonight, I should get the same person. I shouldn't see you over here and then I call your name and you're like, hey, how? No. Everyone understand by genuine personality. Now, I do want to jump to these next couple of photos just because I think they're fun. So I know Scott said he would swim with sharks. I don't even know if I would swim with this shark right here, even if we had a cage, right? So and what we're doing now is we're creating an environment so that everything that we're going to get, even though we're in this industry with sharks, we're going to put a shark cage around us. We're going to make sure we have some chainmail on so that, you know, the fear goes away. Unless, of course, the shark gets inside the cage, then all the cage in the world is not going to do any good. What we're going to do right now is 2 o'clock sharp. I'm good. All right. So why don't we can we do 5 minutes? Everyone do 5 minutes? Yes? 5-minute break. We're going to start right back at 2:05 right here. If you're not seated, you're going to miss the best part of the entire presentation. All right? Yes. Because we do have a lot to cover. So Charlie came back in. He said, I heard a lot of applause. There must be someone next door. And then your name, sir? Yes. Alex. Alex said, did I miss something? I heard a lot of clapping going on, right? And so that's intentional, right? So nothing happened. It's just something that I do, just like I said, to make people feel like they missed something. But in that, remember I did the setup before you all left for the break. I said you're going to miss the best part if you're not here at 2:05. Okay? And then before at 2:05, I had everyone clap when they were in here. When you're in your luxury business, when you're working with affluent clientele, everything you do, you should have a setup and an execution. Know what you want from your people before they even expect it. Yesterday, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, I knew that after the first break, I was going to tell people that you're going to miss the best part. And then when you came back in, so you were going to hear clapping and you were going to be inquisitive. All right. So when you design your business, when you're working with the affluent, anticipate, know what you want from them or what you want from the other agent on the other side of the transaction. And then once you execute that and you deliver exactly as expected, it's a little bit of shock. It's a little bit of show as well. You all got me? All right, so here we go. A couple more things. Can you swim with sharks? These are things that you must ask yourself. Demonstrate professionalism and competence. Do you demonstrate professionalism and competence with everything that you do? Do you demonstrate? Do you operate in excellence with everything that you do? When I go to a business after hours event, I dress the exact same way. So Neil, it's a business casual. First of all, I'll tell everyone, my business is never casual because I don't want my checks to take a break. That's what I tell people. And then also, my job is when I'm in any room, I always want to stand out in the room. So how better? So especially on casual Fridays. So casual Fridays, when you don't have to be the best, you don't have to be the absolute best all the time. You should have to be better than everyone else. And if everyone else is going to lower their bar, now you have an opportunity to get in. For us in South Florida, they tell us supposedly our business slows down November, December, January. So what do the competition, what does everyone else do? They take their breaks, they slow down. Now, I don't have to be better than them at their best. I just need to be better at them when they're lagging a little bit. All right. So if you're in this market, if you see an outstanding agent or company, if you see that there might be a time when they lull and they let their guards down, all you have to do is just go business professional when everyone else is business casual. Risk being the oddball. All right. And so one of the things that we hear all the time is that I teach in the keys a lot. And I do business in the Keys. Fortunately, now I'm doing a lot of business in the Keys since they've rebuilt or somewhat rebuilt from the hurricane. And what I found out is that all of my colleagues, my agents are telling me, Neil, you don't dress like that when you come to the Keys. You're supposed to wear shorts. You're supposed to wear kubavara, all that. I said, okay, thank you. Okay. Neil, we're having a business after hours event. Make sure you have your shorts. Okay. And I show up like this. Why? What do I want everyone in the room doing? I want everybody talking about me. And I don't care if they're saying, well, why he's dressed like this? And so then it just creates conversation for me, right? So that's when I don't have to be better than everyone else at their best. You don't have to be better than everyone at their best. You just got to make sure that you're showing professionalism. And when I'm with my clients, I dress the same way because I don't want to dress like them until they demand it of me. I have a client from Santa Monica, California. He calls, Neil, I'm coming into South Beach. Wear shorts. Will, you know, you're my client. It's kind of hard. Neil, we've been working together for 13 years. Wear shorts. Will. He said, Neil, what, do you have ugly legs? Because now he's taking personal shots at me, right? What is that? Do you have ugly legs? Why don't you wear shorts? And then I said, Will, it's because I'm serving you. And then he said, but you're my friend who just happens to be a real estate agent. Now I'll wear shorts. Right? And that's how we get into that niche or into the realm where we want to be. So competence. How do we become competent in anything? Study, 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 study. There's no other way than study. How many of you are using your Florida Realtor market stats? How many of you got your you know when the market stats are being released? So I have my market stat release date on my phone, on my calendar, my planner. So when market stats are being released from Florida Realtors, they came out on the 22nd. They came out on July 22nd for the month of June. Okay, so it used to be 45 days. Now they're trying to get it done in about 20 days. All right. So now the June residential sales just came out on July 22nd. So what I'm doing is I'm not waiting for Florida Realtors or my association to send out a market report to anyone. I'm going through and I'm looking at what's happening in the luxury market, and I'm doing a video hitting my clients and my sphere before anyone else is. All right, so that's just a little bit on competence, and I'm going to show you where we can find that. Be memorable. Do business in a way that people remember you. Have style, and style is going to be dependent upon you. You can dictate what your style is. Now, when I say be memorable, there are 4 R's. They aren't on your sheet that I want you to write down. 4 R's. The first one is be ready. Ready. If someone came in and wanted to list a $6 million property with you right now today, would you be ready to do a marketing consultation? If the answer is no, you better pray to your God that you do not have that opportunity. Right? Because if you have it and you stumble and you fumble and you bumble, then the word is going to get around in that circle. I gave him a shot and he wasn't ready. I asked her to do this and she wasn't ready. Buyer consultation. If there is a vacation buyer, someone coming in here ready to buy, are you ready to do a buyer consultation? Quick note, we do not use the words listing presentation. Everyone does listing presentations. We do marketing consultations. Marketing consultation. And the reason being is that the affluent, they have consultations with their professional team. Right? No, because a presentation for in the eyes and ears and the minds of the affluent, a presentation means that I'm going to be asked to buy something or to be sold to at the end. A consultation means that we're going to go back and forth and we're going to share ideas and then we're going to have a meeting of the minds. So we do marketing consultations because we don't list properties, we professionally market properties. You're not hiring a listing agent, you're hiring a marketing expert. These little words, linguistics. I don't know if you guys are familiar with linguistics and choosing the right words and what wordplay they have and all that. So we want to make sure that we're using a marketing consultation, and on the buyer side, buyer consultation. So we want to, or a home buyer consultation. We don't do presentations. Salesmen do presentations. The affluent do not purchase from salesmen. The affluent work with consultants. All right, everyone okay with that idea? If you're not, it's okay, I have the clicker. Besides ready, the second R is be resourceful. So you want to be ready, be resourceful. Know where to get information from. know how to make things happen. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know everyone, but you should be able to get answers for people. With this thing called the internet, every one of you has an entire team at your disposal. I don't know is an unacceptable answer in the luxury realm. I don't know, but I'll get that for you. I don't know, but I'll find out. I don't know, give me a moment is an acceptable answer. All right, so be ready, be resourceful, be resilient. This is a tough niche to excel in, to be great in. So you're going to have to be resilient. There's going to be times when you're hitting your face, your head up against the wall, and the only thing that's going to keep you going is your desire to succeed. And then the last one is be remembered. And we want to be remembered for outstanding service. You don't want to be, so my idea of this, and I learned this from one of my mentors, is that he says, Neil, get a look, something that works for you, but don't be defined, don't be remembered because of your bow tie. If you're being remembered because of how you dress or something like that, you're remembered for the wrong reason in the luxury realm. You want to be remembered because you're great at what you do and because you deliver outstanding service. I get hired by a lot of people. They never once hired me because I wore a bow tie. They hire me because I deliver outstanding service and the communication, negotiation, because we achieved the goal that we set at the beginning. Everyone understand that. So that's why we want to be remembered. All right. Now, a trick question. So do not raise your hand. I'm not even going to ask the question. I'm just going to make a statement. We've been taught that time is money. We've been taught that time is money. We're going to challenge that right now based on one of the people that I admire and that I've studied for a number of decades, for 2 decades at least, Jim Rohn. Time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you cannot get more what? The affluent, the wealthy, they understand this, and the majority of their decisions, and you'll see that they understand it and they believe in it because of the way they live their lives. Remember how I said that they use their money to make more money, to buy more what? Time. So understand that anything that you can do to help them leverage their time makes you look like a rock star. The first way we're going to do that is, so it talks about the time-money equation. They have an affinity. Okay, so here's why this is important. Many of the affluent clientele, they have earned, their primary source of wealth is income. Okay, that's in the U.S. So there's either income or business ownership. Those are the 2 primary ways to obtain wealth in the world. In the U.S., we are heavy with income, which means that we've made our money. They worked for it. Very few, although we want to believe contrarily, very few have gained their wealth because of business opportunities that they were born into. So we hear that generational wealth. Still, about 80+% came from income, which means they're earning. Therefore, that means they're working. That means that they have the same challenges as maximizing their 24 as we do, their 24 hours, right? So how do we put ourselves in a position to speak their language? So when I'm talking about speaking their language, we want to speak their language in terms of the time, money, value, parameters or paradigm. One of the best ways I've learned is to speak to them how they want to be spoken to in everything that you do. The first one is email. Paragraphs are the worst thing to ever happen to us as human beings. A paragraph. Why? How many of you have ever started reading something and you start skipping, right? The affluent, they're even worse than we are. So we want to use what's called an executive summary. Who's here familiar with the idea of an executive summary? Executive summary. We're doing a very quick 2-line intro. Hey, Jane, here's what we have. I've attached a full contract. Below are the relevant bullet points that I believe need to be reviewed for you. And then on the bullet point, now I'm talking about, for an example we're going to use is going to be an offer, because everyone gets excited about an idea of an offer. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to send, hey, attached is the offer for your review. Ideally, if we could, we still want to have these meetings face-to-face and in person. There's nothing like a person-to-person, face-to-face meeting with our affluent clientele. All right? Everyone okay with that idea? Now, if it can't be done in person, we're going to second ask for some type of video meeting. whether you're using Skype, WhatsApp, okay, whether you're going to be using a Zoom. I do a lot of Zoom meetings, FaceTime, whatever it is. We want to send over an executive summary. Now we're talking about just on a contract to begin with, and then you can apply it to every other part of your business. My executive summary, I'm going to say, hey Jane, I've attached a full offer that we received. Below are the terms that I think are relevant for you to review. In the bullet point, I'm just going to go through and pull out those relevant things and just do one bullet point for each. Contract price, X amount, escrow, closing date or response time, inspection days, any contingencies. I want them to be able to look at it in 5 or 6 seconds, have an idea, because what do I know? They're probably not going to be the one reviewing the entire contract, right? Because we talked about how complex the transactions are. It's going to an attorney. And if it's not going to an attorney in your initial consultation, ask them if they have an attorney or if they have someone on their team. Just assume they have a team and make them feel good. Do you have someone on your team that we're going to be sending the offers over to along with yourself? Can I get their contact info or so I can make an introduction, right? And if not, always offer to say, I'll be happy to give you a couple names for you to interview as well. All right. So we want to do that because we want that our client, when they look at that email, we want them to say, boom, 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 got it, done, send it over. Your client may never acknowledge that the fact that you took the time to do an executive summary, because in their life that's normal, right? That's just how we do business. That's how my assistant speaks to me. That's how my personal representative, they speak to me in bullet points. They, all right, good, got it. Now, who will acknowledge it is going to be the person who's actually having to go through the contract on their behalf. That gatekeeper that we're going to talk about, that attorney that we don't like and that we think is there to trip up a transaction. So now when the attorney goes through and says, all right, they look like they've done this before. How many of you have received offers from agents and the offer was, the email says, attached is our offer, right? And what do you think? Okay, let me go through this entire thing. First thing we're looking for is the number of pages. Then make sure all the pages are initialed. Okay, make sure we got a legit offer. Then we're looking for proof of funds before we even go into the offer, right? What if you as an agent, if you were the buyer's agent, what if you did an executive summary to the listing side, right? Hey, we've attached a full offer. Here's our terms, right? What do you think the other agent, me as a listing agent, I know when I get that from an agent, I'm like this, that's someone who's sharp. I know what I'm dealing with. Remember we talked about operating with professionalism and competence? Now that lets me know I'm probably going to want to have a serious conversation or lean towards working with someone who has an idea and who speaks the way that I do. You all okay with that idea there? Okay. Where are we? All right. So learn skills and processes which allow you to best communicate your understanding of their most valuable asset. So that's where we talked about the executive summary, bullet points, and paragraphs. Who in here loves talking on the phone to your clients? Who likes talking on the phone to your clients? Guess what the number one preferred method of conversation for the affluent is? Next, so the first one is face-to-face. After that, for important conversations, what's their number one preferred method of communication? Phone conversation. What's our number one preferred method? Text. Right? Now you're going to say, Neil, however, this is one of the things that I'm going to tell you. It doesn't matter age. It doesn't matter the locale. They still want to hear and feel what you're saying because their BS meter is very finely tuned. That's bull stuff for those of you who don't know what BS means. So their bull stuff meter in the vocabulary when it comes to verbal communication is very, very finely tuned. So they're going to want to hear you speak first. So what I do, remember how I talked about if it's an offer or if it's something important, I will always draft an executive summary type email, send that over to them, and then I'm going to call them. I just sent you an email. Have you had a chance to review it? I know they haven't because I just sent it 3 seconds ago. Open it up if you want to, or we can discuss it, but I want you to have it to send to whoever. Yes, ma'am.
You set a time for yourself in the evening after which you will no longer speak.
To clients, to customers? Absolutely. I have to. So mine is early. Mine is 7. So after 7, I don't work. And I very rarely work. I don't work any Sundays, and I hardly work any Saturdays.
You're working, you're just not talking
No, so usually I'm not even working. And so here's why. Here's why I've set that up. Because during that initial consultation, remember how I said when you know what you want from people, you get their buy-in at the beginning. Just how I said we're going to clap when someone comes in. We set all that up. I'm telling on that initial marketing consultation or the buyer consultation, I'm letting my prospect, client, customer know how I work. What I know is I'm going to tell them how I work. Then I'm going to say, how does that work for you? Because when we're having that conversation, they've already seen what they're going to get. They're not going to want to miss this because they can't get me on after 7. Now, can they get someone? Yes. Now, that's something I want us to understand. When I say I don't work after 7 and I don't work on Saturdays or Sundays, that's me personally. You might have to get creative. You might have to hire someone. You might have to hire a call service, someone to take calls in, to respond in a timely manner. Now, I do believe that the response needs to be reasonably. Okay, now I'm not saying you have to be available 24/7. Do not set expectations that you cannot sincerely and consistently meet. If you are an agent who says, I'm always available, I don't know if you guys know Imran Palati from California. So he's with Next Home. So I picked up something from him because we were in Orlando at convention and he was speaking, and one of the things was the guy had on his business card, available 24/7, I'm at your disposal. So we're hanging out. And it's late. And so Imran pulls out the business card, right? And so he gets on Facebook Live. This is Imran's personality. Hey guys, it's 3 a.m. Look here. It says 24-hour accessibility. We're going to call him right now, see if he's available. Call, voicemail. And he's Facebook Living, okay? So it's not like, and we're in Orlando, so it's a lot of people up at 3 a.m. All right? Yeah, some of you may have been up too. So he does that, and then he says, you know what? He woke up on that first call. I'm going to call him again. Calls him a second time. Gets nothing. Calls a third time, leaves a voicemail. Hey, I thought you were 24/7. I was calling to give you my listing, You know, maybe you're on a different 24/7 than us, right? So that's why you want to set realistic expectations, because if I set the expectation, I know who I want to work with and how I want to work. Comfortable only working the way I want to than being upset and frustrated when someone expects me to call them back on a Sunday, right? If you expect me to call you back on a Sunday, one of two things either happen. You either thought my number was 911 or I did a horrible job during our consultation, right? So it's however you want to do, however you want to set it up. But I do believe, now the expectations of the affluent, they do have a higher level of expectations from their service providers. However, they're also probably more understanding when they're working with professionals and others. Right? So they're saying, okay, what do you mean that you stop working at 7? Now, if it's an urgent emergency, after you've called 911 and the president and neither of them answered, if you need me, here's my private number, call me then. Or shoot me a text, because you probably understand that I don't get much time with my wife and my son, so Saturday is spent with them. And on Sunday, that's when I do my charitable works at my church, so hopefully you could understand that. If they don't, if they say no, guess what? I'm not their realtor. You know, so that's just my 2 cents. That's how I've set up my business, and it works for me, right? And it allows me to be here on a Thursday, right? Because I've set them up, and then I'll tell them realistically, you know, usually within 72 hours, 48 hours, 24 hours, I can get back to you. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
So you have no residents on the weekends?
So I don't. I am not working on the weekends because Saturday mornings my wife has to go to the beach. Saturday evenings I have to volunteer at my church with my kids, and then Sundays I'm volunteering at the church. Yes, ma'am.
You have a team that takes over for you while you're not available.
So what I've done is I do not have a team per se. What I've done is I've gotten hungry, motivated agents who look forward to speaking to some of my clients, and so they're sort of like my proteges. So I haven't gone through and built a formal team. What I do have is I have agents who know how I operate, and they might be new in the industry. So they do my open houses, right? They might do my buyer showings on a Saturday. Now there might be 1 or 2 when Will Linehan comes from Santa Monica or Santa Clara. When he comes in, we hang out on a Saturday, right? And then we might see some properties, but then also the wife, she's hanging out with us, right? So, but as far as just business and me scheduling just work, very rarely. Very, very rarely. Now that's the exception, not the rule. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, how much time do you spend on this business versus your real estate business?
So the majority of my business is the actual selling, managing, being the broker of my office. Okay, so that's the majority of my time. This right here, I probably teach, train, speak. We travel maybe 8 days out of the month. So we're somewhere teaching for about 8 days. But then for me, and here's why I ask, and here's what I would challenge you all to do, just to build, because the challenge is, how do you find affluent clientele to work with, right? That's always a challenge. How do I get my foot in the door? And the question goes back to, what if you've messed up in your local area? How do you get in? You go network down in Miami, right? And then meet all the agents for the affluent clients and say, hey, when you have referrals for Vero, send them to me. When you have referrals for Indian River, send them to me. Okay, and so that's one of the things where the referral, because now that might be an exception. What I know is, I'm on the leadership board down in Miami. We ain't driving 117 miles. I almost turned around on my way up here, and I'm teaching, right? So that's how we come in, and that's how we find. So what I'll do is, if you get really good at something, take the next step and branch out and start teaching, training, speaking on it somewhere outside of your local area, because now you're perceived as an expert to people outside. Now when they're thinking, okay, who do I know in Vero? Oh, the instructor. Right, so that's an immediate way to get business, or to at least be positioned to get more referral business coming in. And it's a way to earn business and not ask for it. Does that answer your question somewhat? I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Oh, yes, sir. Anything else right now? All right. So right here, study to show yourself approved. Study to show yourself approved. Now, when I'm talking about studying, when we talk about studying luxury, studying the affluent, we are not talking about this right here, as with the little quiz that you all done, or that you did. It does not mean to become a great luxury agent. You don't have to know anything about Chanel, Hennessy. I might know too much about Hennessy at times, okay? Cartier, Fendi. You don't have to know about any of these things. And your name, ma'am, I'm sorry? Linda. So Linda said, you know what, I traveled, I should know this stuff. Like, I've been 2018, 2017, I'm traveling around the world, I should know these luxury brands. You do not have to know anything about luxury brands. The only thing you have to be excellent at, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, is service. Service, 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 and excellence. Now, when we talk about studying, some of the things that we must study, a couple of things that we must study, and these, it's on your notes, but there are a few metrics that whether you're going to be working with a buyer or a seller, domestic or international. Remember, I mentioned that if you don't know your market stats, it's kind of hard for you to justify that you're worth working with the affluent. Median days on market. That is a stat that every one of us must know, that we need to keep that at the front of our minds every time. Median days on market, absorption rates, or we hear months of inventory. Okay, everyone understand median days on market. Does everyone know the difference between median and average? All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Median is the middle. Average is when they take everything, add it up, and divide by the number. All right, so these are very, very important. We used to hear average days on market, average list price to sales price ratio, average sales price. Now, economists and statisticians, they're leaning towards median, because here in Florida, hopefully you all understand that we could have a $200,000 house right here, 2 blocks away, we could have a $7 million house, right? Now, if you take a $200,000 sale and the $7 million sale, you add those together, and then you ask for the average, it's not going to be right on either side, right? But based on the number of transactions that we have here in Florida and in our markets, that's why they're using the median prices for median days on market, list price to sales price ratio, and months of inventory. Assessment ratios. Assessment ratios is a term that is used in the Northeast. At the end of, well, we're anticipating around October, right? We're anticipating around October, when everyone else is in a lull and when we're getting ready to die down here, this year is going to be a little bit different, because the reason assessment ratios, we say list price to sales price ratio here, the reason assessment ratios are important, that's the way they speak, that's the terminology they're using in the Northeast. Okay, and something is going to happen around October in the Northeast that's going to really result, or hopefully cause us to get a lot more business. Who knows what that is, or who has a guess on what that is? Not weather, what is it? Taxes. Okay, so some of them have done extensions, right? So as of, I don't know if you all watch the news. You don't have to watch the news to study the news and to know what should be on your radar. At the beginning of this month, there was the luxury tax for real estate up in the Northeast. So Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey got hit pretty hard for properties over $1 million, for the transaction that happened above $1 million. What's the problem up there? Almost everything is selling for above $1 million. So in April, May, June, there was a big push for sellers and buyers, for buyers really to purchase as many properties, as much property as they could above $1 million, right? Then in July, the 1st of July, the luxury tax issue hit. Their extensions on their taxes and everything is up in October for those who didn't pay the full thing last year. So now in October, they don't want to get hit with more taxes. So we're anticipating them coming down here. Why is that important to us? Every one of you should be reaching out to agents in the Tri-County, the Tri-State area, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Make relationships with the agents there who already have relationships with buyers and sellers. Okay? Why? Because now I don't want to wait until a buyer gets here in Vero. I don't want for them to get here in Indian River County, right? When do I wait before they get on the plane? How do I get them? From their trusted real estate advisor up there in New York. I want them to vouch for me. I want that endorsement. Remember I said the best endorsement you can have is from a past customer or from a colleague who says, you know what, use Neil. He knows what he's doing. He's going to offer you the same level of service that I would. So these are the stats that you would know, should know, need to know. Median days on market, months of inventory, list price to sales price ratio. And then the types of properties in demand and available in your market. Okay, so in the luxury market here, if I wanted to be a luxury agent, would I specialize in condos? Here, would I specialize in condos? I'm sorry? Okay, now, this is a business decision that you must make. Let me ask you, and let me tell you why I say that, because I was in MLS Advantage. So is everyone here familiar with MLS Advantage from the MLS? All right, so MLS Advantage, the Florida Realtors stats, RPR allows me to be 117 miles south for me to get as much information on your market as you do, okay? So I was doing my research and I started looking at just the number of transactions that are happening above 500,000. Remember, we talked about how 500,000 is the floor. Here it's a lot higher. Your bottom for your luxury market is about 800,000, okay, just based off of the sales that were happening, all right? So I was looking, and based off the number of transactions, it does not make sense for me to specialize in condos here. Now, here's what we have to think about. Are there luxury condos selling? Yes. But remember, am I going to put my money for marketing, advertising, going after a very small segment of the market, or am I going to come over here where more transactions are happening? Okay, so